A KY3 storm mode alert.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:09, and we have two new tornado warnings to tell you about.
The air rises in here, comes down around the backside, and then rotates in.
We are tracking this storm. It is right along Highway 7, likely producing a tornado. So this is the area that you've got to be taking seriously right now.
And this would be the potential tornado right in here. Now, it's a long way from this camera on 76. We're kind of obscured by the gorilla and the water tower. But if there is anything on the ground, it is going to be right in this vicinity here.
There was not a lot of damage to the houses themselves, but as you can see, there's trees along the line that went down. You can also see, let me get behind the camera for you guys, so you can see that some of these trees actually got uprooted.
And folks need to be very careful when you're out driving like this afternoon. If you can't actually see the funnel, what you have to look for in situations like this is you want to be looking for power flashes.
And if you're traveling between Springfield and Branson, you are caught in incredible rain. There's also been hail reports coming out of this.
Remember, oftentimes people say, well, it wasn't raining. I mean, we had this heavy rain, we had this hail, then there was this period of quiet, then we were hit with a tornado. This is what we're seeing take place here. We're in the shaft of the heavy rain right now on Chateau. Then behind this heavy rain, there's going to be a calm period. And then we notice these lowered bases right in here. And here's another lowered base right in here.
You can see that little couplet see right over Neosho. That's the area that we're watching. And the reason that this section of the viewing area is now under a tornado warning.
Kind of this shelf cloud in here, and we're getting this heavy rain and the wind. And then behind it, we kind of get that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But essentially, you got a jet stream coming over the top of south surface winds. Imagine that's what this is. And so you create this twisting motion that's horizontal, and then when the storms develop, upward motion moves across that and draws it up into the storm and tightens it, much like when an ice skater is twirling around as she brings her arms in and she spins faster. That's kind of the same thing here.
So here's the wall cloud. Remember I told you we had that lower base out there that was obscured by the rain. Here's the, look at how well defined this wall cloud is. It comes down and it is just a rectangle right in here.
This is video from Ozark County out toward Theodosia. And what was the name again? Sandra Wade. Okay, it's on there. She sent us this, and it's hard to tell just looking at the video if it actually got all the way to the ground, but it certainly looks like it could have. We've also had some storms producing high wind, and we're looking at outages from the Empire District. We're looking at Dade County, kind of back over to the Missouri-Kansas line.
And you can see that some damage is rather extensive to some homes and outbuildings. This looks like it may be a tractor barn of some sort, or a house, or some sort of equipment thrown into a house.
And we had a lot of damage. We still have a lot of damage that people are cleaning up. You can see a trailer here right behind me that actually got flipped over entirely. And over here, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but there are some horses back there that are stuck in this fenced-in area because they can't get out, and there's trees that are in their pen.
And this is video of that tornado, folks. This is absolutely stunning. We have several videos like this, but that's a large tornado.
So the roofing torn off of this structure, the plywood gone. You're back up here to the support beams and the trusses on the house.
This time the sirens were so loud it was deafening. You couldn't miss the howl that was screeching in the night of the wind and the sirens competing for everyone's attention. As soon as that started, most of the town rushed back here to the American Legion to seek shelter in the basement. They've been doing this all day, off and on. This time, the water came with them. Flooding started becoming an issue later this evening as more warnings started coming out about potential flooding.
I wanted to show you some of the flooding, though, here in Ava. This was sent in by Christina, and you can see how the water's just coming across the roads there. We've had a lot of reports of some pretty significant flooding in that area. And that's one of the spots that has been particularly hard hit through the course of the evening with all that heavy rain round after round of storm.
I'm still out in Wheaton. The rain is still coming down. You can see the lightning behind me. It's been thundering, and it's really been raining pretty hard for the last hour and a half. But many homes and barns took the brunt of the storm.
We was in the house and saw it top the trees there and got in the truck and tried to race away from the storm.
Kind of a train going through, really. It just sounded like a giant vacuum cleaner, kind of.
People in Boone County say they were shocked at the damage this storm left.
Probably the trees, really. How a tree could be plucked out of the ground and cast off. That's probably the craziest thing I've seen.
And since we've been standing out here tonight for the last couple of hours, really since 3:15, we've seen volunteer firefighters in and out of that station. People have been bringing them food just because they know that they have been working so hard.
Wow. Yeah, that's the cell. They were able to drop that warning. Good news, but you can see why it was warned so long. Look at this home. That's devastating. This is near Rogersville. I mean, that is a substantial home. We are seeing significant damage. This is what we do not want to see in the Ozarks tonight. We have heard of a few injuries reported across the Ozarks, a lot of those coming to us from portions of Christian County and that Waterford neighborhood where we saw some substantial homes damaged.
And we're looking here at the red counties in particular. Those are the areas that we still have quite a few outages. Now, this does not include city utilities in Greene County, but right now, just about 1,500 customers in Greene County without power.
It's basically from Farm Road 186 to 60 Highway, and then 205 on the west and 230 on the east. There's, 20, 25, maybe more houses in there, and a lot of those are heavily damaged. And then we have another area of damage that we're working in the area of 125, D South, 241, and AD on the north. And that's more of just trees blown up on houses or on houses more than the houses are destroyed.
Yeah, I'm on Farm Road 213, just south of Highway 60, west of Rogersville. As you can see behind me, there is debris everywhere. One home destroyed. You can see right here, large trees uprooted and debris covering everything except for the roads that they're trying to get cleared today.
Picking up the pieces, the debris cleanup across the Ozarks after multiple rounds of severe weather.
I couldn't believe it, hearing everything shake and the glass break.
I mean, we're just all really, really thankful nobody was in there.
45 tornado warnings issued. The big concern now, flooding, with Ava getting more than 7 inches of rain. Team coverage tonight on the damage across the Ozarks, the hundreds of volunteers helping those impacted, and what we can expect next. We have team coverage tonight of all the areas across the Ozarks that were hit, focusing on flooding, storm damage, and cleanup efforts going on right now. And tonight we know this information just came in. It was an EF2 tornado confirmed that hit there. Amazingly, there were just 3 injuries, and none of them life-threatening. Joe Hickman is in Ozarks tonight, where the cleanup has been underway since sunup. Joe.
But one thing we've learned is that tornadoes do not discriminate. They go after mobile homes, they can go after farmhouses, subdivisions, and even large metropolitan areas like Joplin.
That system that hit Ozark is likely the same system that damaged between 50 and 75 houses to the northeast in the Rogersville area. Not a confirmed tornado there yet. The National Weather Service is still working on that, but we can tell you its path of destruction stretches for about 6 miles.
This is just one of 6 buildings that the Hughes family lost to yesterday's storm. And this house was actually a 2-story house. And what happened was the tornado came through and took out the bottom level. The bottom level was a garage space. And then what happened was the top half just fell down onto this concrete slab. So really just a disaster here where this home once was. And of course, there is debris everywhere. Boards, big old pieces of metal. It is just a mess out here. And one thing is for sure, yesterday's storm definitely showed its strength here in Berry County. Sifting through what's left.
Our pictures and clothes.
After a tornado tore through this home.
This is where we started out.
Bob and Stephanie Hughes built this house and passed it down to family.
All 3 of our kids have lived in it.
It's one of 6 buildings on their property hit by Tuesday's tornado. That includes the family business, Southwest Auction Service.
Taxes.
Hughes says his daughter, who works there along with other employees, got out in the nick of time.
God's watched over me our whole entire life.
But they're certainly not the only ones thankful for safety.
This all fell in last night.
Lindy Lombard's home was hit too.
It's tough to stand here and look at it.
He's well known around here as the fire chief.
I'm used to dealing with other things and other people, but it kind of hits home.
But as power is restored to town and people start to pick up the pieces.
It's weird to find all the little things that are just still here.
Out of the disaster. comes the kindness of a community.
At least 500 people since yesterday come out and volunteer.
People who say they need no thanks.
I mean, this is family. That's what we do.
Because when someone here is hurting,
If you live in Southwest Missouri, everybody's your family.
you can bet they'll have help.
I love this community and how they come out and supported my family.
As these people come together to remember, it's the fact that people were protected.
This is all sticks and stones. That's all flesh and bones.
That's really important.
As long as God takes care of the flesh and bones, I can work on the sticks and stones.
It was an incredible outbreak of tornadoes.
Yeah.
What we think were tornadoes. The issue now is getting them confirmed by the National Weather Service, which they're actually doing right now, and you have some new information there.
Yeah, the crews are out. I mean, these are all of the reports that came in last night.
Wow.
There's flash flood reports, wind reports, tornado reports, and some of these we knew were tornadoes because you were sending us pictures and videos. We saw it.
This is drone video from Midwest Drone Works of the damage that was left behind. We now join Francis Watson live out in the field with more tonight. Francis?
The only thing left standing of this brick house is the front door. Bill and Bernice Walker, they were winding down for the evening when they got a phone call telling them they needed to take shelter. The elderly couple, it takes them some time to get moving. They had just about 15 minutes before the tornado hit their house. And by the time that they did make their way out of the basement, emergency crews, they were already here. Bill is disabled and had to be carried out of all the debris. He says it wasn't until this morning that he was able to get a really good look at what was left of his house. Still, he says none of this matters. It can all be replaced.
If we come out of that with just her and I, that's plenty. And things can always be replaced. You know, of course, we're at an age right now where it's going to take us a little, we have to be a little faster at replacing things, but we can do it.
Steve, I'm here at a trailer park here on Ivy Lane in Lebanon. Earlier this afternoon, there were 2 trees that were laying on top of this mobile home. You can see this tree is cracked, and you're actually going to see video in just a few moments, but I do want to show you all of this area here. This entire roadway earlier this afternoon was covered in tree and tree limbs. A lot of those have been pushed off to the side right now, and there's another trailer right in the background here that has a tree the entire way through. Now in this video, you're actually going to see the 2 trees that were on top of the mobile home I was first telling you about. This community has really been working the entire day to clear a lot of these trees.
Some of the damage here in northwest Rogersville is absolutely unbelievable. Take a look at what strong winds did to this tree. It just uprooted it. Well, hopefully, if you have insurance, you've already contacted your agent. Make sure you know your policy, because no matter if you have homeowners insurance, renters insurance, or flood insurance, you might still have to pay some out of pocket. You want to make sure you do your homework on the company. At this home in Rogersville, it's Neighbors Helping Neighbors. The homeowner first thing took photos of the damage. Well, they haven't had to pay a company yet, but sandwiches will do for now.
For all of these wonderful people that just dropped whatever they were doing and came to help. And I'm so blessed that there's such wonderful people in Missouri.
For jobs like this, it's okay to pay in thirds. 1/3 up front, 1/3 in the middle, and then 1/3 when the job is done. Now, if you did not get any damage, consider yourself lucky, and perhaps this is a lesson for you to get your ducks in a row. Do your research on companies. Know your home insurance policy. So if this ever happens to you, you're ready.
With waters rushing,
they all got caught on a low water bridge.
3 kayakers facing roaring rapids.
Not good swimmers, no life jackets.
But one man was able to escape the water and find some help on Shady Rapids Road.
He thought it took him 2 hours to get to a house here locally, and they called 911.
Crews with the Western Taney County Fire and Rescue called in, going upstream to look for the others.
We sat down and started playing some cards and knock on the door. So I answered it, and the fire chief came, said that I hate to bother you, but he said, we got tragedy.
Chester Kidwell, who lives near Bull Creek, joined the crews as they searched parts of the river behind his house.
The low water bridge, all the way down to pass beyond our property. Then George Jones, our neighbor over here, beyond his property. And so within our area, we walked probably, I would say, closer to 2.5 to 3 miles.
A helicopter called in to get a bird's eye view, trying to spot the other two. For Chester, it's been an emotional day, but he's not losing hope.
But hey, we have a good father, and he will comfort us through this.
I don't mess around with these things. I'm disabled, so I can't walk. I had to back down the stairs and crawl down.
He and his wife Bernice had just minutes to take cover.
All of a sudden, I heard the wind, and it blew, popped, and then all the glass came out and came on me, and I cut my arm here. It cut my arm, and my chair picked up, and it threw me into the hallway.
The walkers managed to make their way out of the rubble.
I didn't get to see it because in the night, in the dark, the firefighters had to carry me across the road. It was pouring down rain, lightning and everything else.
They had to wait until morning to see what was left of their home.
I was just kind of sick to my stomach. I had never seen my house look like that before. It was a beautiful home, and it had a lot of character. We've been here 14 years.
The Category EF2 tornado confirmed by the National Weather Service nearly took everything. Furniture, family heirlooms, clothes, even their vehicle. Though one part of the house refused to budge for the storm.
We couldn't believe that there's a door just standing in the middle of the house.
The front door, including the glass window pane, intact. What is it made out of?
Just wood, that's all I know. Yeah.
His daughter-in-law and grandson took me on a tour of what was left inside the house. It seems the front door wasn't the only thing that stood up to the storm. A bedroom in the basement was also untouched. The Walkers, like many of their neighbors, are packing up what's left, ready to move on with their lives.
I can say this. If we lost everything in there and still had each other, that would be perfect.
Going right towards the school.
The storm in Boone County hit at a critical time for Lead Hill School District.
We were in the process of dismissing students for the day and loading them onto the buses.
The superintendent says the district stuck to its crisis plan.
We pulled students off of buses, got them into tornado shelters.
Parents who were in their cars waiting to pick up their kids were encouraged to come inside, and everyone took shelter.
Right before it got to our campus, we saw it kind of break up and lift up. So I think we really were very fortunate that happened because it kind of hopped right over the top of our campus.
Incredibly, no one was hurt.
Here on Farm Road 213 west of Rogersville, there is debris everywhere from homes that were damaged and trees ripped down. But Galen and Charlotte Campbell's home was destroyed.
Family members got the news in text messages.
And then they started posting pictures of it, and so obviously we knew that it was not a bad joke, but like an actual living nightmare for them.
We're just all really, really thankful nobody was in there. I mean, that could have been really bad, but praise Jesus, no one was home.
21-year-old Brittany Campbell had been here just before the storm hit, but went to her uncle's house.
Well, he lives about 5 minutes from here and said there were tornadoes in the area and to come by if we wanted to, because he has a tornado shelter and we don't. And I'm really thankful we did.
Brittany's parents and 3 younger siblings weren't home either.
They're in Kansas City currently for treatment. My dad has lymphoma cancer.
Family members say Galen is on his 4th treatment plan. Now he and his wife Charla and their kids have lost their home.
I feel like your home is like your safe place and a place that you can find comfort when you're already going through a hard time. And then for that to be gone also, I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Lee, it's not snow you see in the parking lot behind me. It's foam insulation from what was once the roof on the Ozark Hills Theater here in Lebanon. This was home to the Prater's Country Music Show every Saturday night for more than a decade. And because of last night's storms, those shows are just a memory.
The search continues for the last of 3 kayakers that capsized in Taney County. One of the friends made it out of the flooded Bull Creek alive, but search crews found the body of another man, Alex Ekern, this morning. Katie Rousseau is near Walnut Shade with the latest tonight.
Certainly is a sad day here in Taney County. Those 3 kayakers were along Bull Creek yesterday when their boats capsized in floodwater.
And it just happened in a split second.
Monica Seal is the wife of the kayaker who swam to shore and walked about 2 miles to this home for help. She says their friend Alex Eckern was better known by his nickname Phoenix. They describe him as a person who'd do anything for them, a man who was very generous and put others above himself. Search crews discovered Eckern's body around 8:30 Thursday morning, but the search for the third friend is still ongoing. The Missouri Highway Patrol is leading the search efforts along with cooperation of landowners, who even helped them build ramps to get the rescue boats into the creek. While this is a tragic story of a life lost too soon, Phoenix's friends say they'll remember him as the fun-loving person he was and know that he was doing something he loved with people he loved before he died.
He was very excited to go kayaking. I saw him leave before they left. At least he passed doing something that he loved. He was actually a really good friend. He was like a brother to us.
One home off Highway NN used to look like this, but tonight it looks very differently. And Taylor Frost is in Ozark tonight with more on what the house looks like now. Taylor.
Ethan and Lisa, you can see the damage behind me. The middle part of this house, well, it's gone. I talked with the family, and they told me the story of how they survived the storm.
We were watching old Ron Hurst on the news.
When Denton Wilson decided to take a step outside and look to the sky.
It was raining and stuff, the wind was going, and then all of a sudden it got really still. It got dark, it got real dark, and it got dark and still.
With his pregnant wife by his side, they grabbed their two little girls, taking shelter.
We had baby Nora right here, so we had the 18-month here. Then we had baby Grace here, and then Mama Bear was kind of tucked in here. And then I had my hand here like so, and then here. And then I was just over the top of them like this and was just pressing my legs up against the wall and was just...
Just a few seconds later, the storm right above the family, leaving mass destruction.
It sounded like a dog whistle was for the wind, and then just, I don't know, shambling and windows shattering. And, I don't know how to describe it, just quite horrifying.
Each time we have a tornado warning, the KY3 storm team warns you to take shelter immediately, and this is the reason why. This is the result of an EF2 tornado that struck this well-built, well-constructed brick home with winds of 135 miles an hour. When a tornado approaches, the best place to be is in the lowest level of the house, particularly in the basement. As you can see in this home, the top floor is completely destroyed. The folks that live in this house, the couple, actually survived because they took shelter in the basement. And as you can clearly see, this is the only part of the home that still remains. We always tell you to stay away from the exterior walls. This is a prime example of why. You can see if you were near an exterior wall in this tornado, you would not have survived. Nothing on the outside of the home is left standing. If you don't have a basement, your next best bet is to get into an interior closet or even into an interior kitchen pantry, because as you can see here, this is one of the few things remaining in this home. If you had ridden out this tornado in that pantry, odds are you would have survived.
Galen Campbell heard about the tornado from 3 hours away.
He said, Galen, I hate to tell you this, but your house is really damaged from the tornado.
His oldest daughter and her fiance had been at the house, but thankfully took shelter elsewhere. Galen says the house collapsed into the basement where they likely would have been.
We just feel like God spared her life, and thinking about what could have happened minimizes the loss of the house.
He's thanking God his family is safe while fighting for his own life. Galen was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma last July.
It was kind of like, is this happening to me?
2 different kinds of chemo were ineffective, so Galen and his family packed up in a camper before the tornado and headed to Kansas City for a treatment called CAR T-cell therapy.
It's really the tale of two cities. Camdenton did not turn on their tornado sirens. They didn't have a tornado warning. But here in Osage Beach, those tornado sirens were going off. They also did not have a tornado warning. That prompted many of you to go on Facebook and ask both why and why not. The question started in the Lake Area Happenings Facebook group. A post from an Osage Beach resident said the sirens were going off in the city. Just about 20 minutes later, another post, this time asking if the Camdenton sirens had failed. That person didn't hear them going off. Neither Camdenton nor Osage Beach was included in a tornado warning.
We can request them to be activated, and they will, if we request it.
The EMA doesn't have the authority to actually sound the alarm. That's up to each individual city. But Ron Gentry, the EMA director, says he follows the city of Camdenton's policy. They will sound their tornado sirens only if any part of the city is included in the warning.
If Polygon touches any part of the municipality, then we would request activation if they haven't already done it. But in 99.9% of the time, they will have already activated.
As you know, neighbors helping neighbors is what the Ozarks is all about. Now, just be mindful, there's a risk when you let other people on your property. With power lines down, nails, sharp debris, accidents can happen and do happen. Those accidents can be costly, and you, the homeowner, might have to pay up. Make sure you know and trust the people picking up the mess. Perhaps designate certain jobs as a DIY or hire a pro. Age does not matter. If volunteers are under 18 years old, same rules apply. Bottom line, understand your home insurance policy.
If negligence is not determined, there is still a provision in your policy for no fault coverage, and that's medical payments, but that can be pretty low depending on your policy. It can start at about $1,000 and go to $5,000 or $10,000, maybe something like that.
Now, if you plan to help clean up this weekend, it's best to do it with an organized group. Some charities even have waivers for homeowners to sign before they get to work, and those are typically good because it protects the homeowner.
We know there were 14 confirmed tornadoes from Tuesday night's outbreak. The latest to be verified was this twister in Mountain Grove. The EF0 twister stayed on the ground for 2.5 miles, snapping trees and power lines, damaging a home and destroying outbuildings. Fortunately, no one was hurt in that storm.
Already been here and cleaned up a lot of this.
With widespread damage, Governor Mike Parson toured the area.
Debris removal is the first sign of recovery.
Yeah.
Getting an update, learning how the Ozark community is truly doing after an EF2 tornado.
Were you at home?
No, we were back in Minneapolis.
Okay, so there's nobody at home when this all happened?
Nobody was here.
Well, that's thankful. That's good.
So, yeah.
Meeting the people who call the Waterford neighborhood home.
I know, just sorting out how to handle everything is overwhelming.
Well, you got a lot of people on the ground here that could help, with you, and, there's a lot of agencies here. One thing good about Missouri, you got a lot of agencies here that'll help you.
Many of which are volunteers.
It changes things. It really makes you kind of look of like destruction can happen anywhere.
Including your own backyard. Michael Walt lives just a few streets over, but decided to pitch in.
And just going around trying to get debris piles up. Like I cleared 3 debris piles over there.
The dedicated people out here trying to help people in time of need. And that's really showcases who we are in Missouri. I think that's one of the proudest things I can say about being governor of the state of Missouri is the people that live here and what they stand for and what they'll really do when people help one another.
The governor also spent time thanking first responders for their quick action, all while reminding the community it will take time to recover.
We'll do whatever we can in our powers to help them.
On any given day, you would find RVs parked in this campground off of Route 66 in Waynesville. Except for this week, they evacuated this campground because the city was expecting the Rubidoux to flood its banks, which is just on the other side of that tree line. The Parks Department says where I'm standing right now on Thursday morning, I would have been way underwater.
Water got here about 12.5 feet. It's like crested Thursday afternoon at 12.5 feet.
It's not uncommon for the Rubidoux to flood several times a year. The city is used to it. Not a surprise to you anymore?
No.
But despite the torrential rain from the severe storms Tuesday night, flooding wasn't as damaging as it had been in 2013, 2015, or 2017. The 2013 floods cost the city of Waynesville $1.3 million in damages. So the city did a number of things they hope can prevent such a costly flood. They built bridges over low water crossings at Old H and Dyer roads, eliminating low water crossings from city limits. After being flooded, they moved the street department away from the Rubidoux so vehicles wouldn't be ruined in flash flooding. They've also committed to regular tree trimming and cleaning culverts around the city.
The city has done everything in their power to stop major damage, but everybody knows you can't stop Mother Nature.
Andre Anderson and his wife now have pieces of plastic on their roof damaged throughout their entire house after those strong storms swept through a few weeks ago.
It was just pouring down through. We had buckets lining up in here.
Andre says his roof will need to be replaced, and even the structure of his home is compromised. He doesn't have insurance, so the cost of the repairs is overwhelming, with the new roof alone costing up to $16,000. The disabled Marine says after the storm, his main concern was for his family and neighbors. He checked on homes nearby to make sure everyone was okay. And now friends are starting to help him, raising funds online and even giving through the nonprofit for which Andre works, Riley's Treasures in Branson. Gestures, he says, go a long way during a time of need.
I never want to ask, and I won't ever ask, but I have friends. I have some really nice, amazing friends, and they felt that I needed some help at the time. It makes me want to tear up a little bit. It makes me very happy, and just shows that helping people goes a long way.
Now, Andre says he is usually the one helping others and serving others, and so he says it is humbling to know that other people are helping him and his wife in their time of need.
Last Tuesday was that big tornado outbreak. They're still counting. What are we up to, 28 now?
28 as of today. So the Springfield Weather Service office, 27 as of today. The new one, Berry County, Cassville, that's an EF0 from today.
Okay.
We also have the one from Bergman, of course, as you don't see on the map because Little Rock Weather Service does things a little bit differently. But they were out every single day over the weekend.
Amazing.
The crews are still out surveying all of this. So it's likely that we end up, somewhere in the 30s from that one-day event.